So here's kind of our characterization of what this initiative is. It's a hybrid that's based on a whole bunch of different things. We have incentives based on educator performance, which is really what this is. What a teacher or what a principal actually does. And someone looking at that and saying, okay, I see you doing X, check you off, and get the money. We also have an incentive based on student performance. And we have incentives to do more work and incentives to do different work, which is what really these are, the leadership projects. And then incentives to build capacity, which is where the professional development comes in. But also, if any of you are familiar with these particular evaluation systems, the framework for teaching and the ISLIC standards are really meant to be used in a reflective way, and there really is a capacity building element to those evaluation systems. So there's some capacity building going on there. We also would say that there are individual and collective components to FIRST. Really, all of this is individual, except for the school growth. If I'm a math teacher, my students are being measured on the tests that I give them, or the state tests in my area. But also, if I'm a music teacher, I can earn school growth even though my students are not tested in that area. I can't earn this, but I can earn this because there is a test in that area. So there are some individual and some collective components to it. All right, so we can go ahead and go on. So I already talked you through these 2 points. The final thing that we'll say about FIRST is that really what we see in it are multiple mechanisms for improving human capacity, human capital. Really geared towards ultimately improving student performance, but along the way, it's geared towards recruiting and retaining teachers and building the capacity of your workforce through a reflective evaluation system, through professional development that is above and beyond what teachers are already expected to do as far as professional development goes, and also through a leadership project. So we'll conclude by saying that the rest is to be continued. We are in the actually data collection stages of our study at the moment, so we do not have any preliminary findings about the before and 5 from the slide with questions on it. We don't have anything to share with you about those yet, but they're to come.
Thank you very much. We're now going to turn to our State Department.
Well, I've listened to a lot of the things, and great presentation, by the way. And I like to get down to the field, and that's what I'm going to talk about, what actually happens in the field. Because we hear the theory, and that the union comes up with, and other entity comes up with, and we see whether it's workable or not. Who has heard that unions don't support additional pay or I won't say merit pay because that's like a dirty word. So you got to substitute anytime you hear merit pay. Alternative pay. So have you heard that unions don't support it? Okay. Well, that's not actually true, and I'll explain that. There are certain aspects of it that we don't support, and I'll tell you the reason why. We have to first look at the history. Someone here spoke about the single salary schedule. That's crucial. That's crucial to teachers, and that's the way they're paid. Now, in the 1800s, well, let's say, what's her name? Amy. Let's see, what's her name, sir?
Abdul.
Abdul? Yeah. Okay. Amy and Abdul are both teaching in the same school district. And, Abdul just happens to be a male. So you might get twice the pay that Amy gets. Do you consider that fair? Most people won't. In another school district, you may have because Amy is, let's say Amy is single, she doesn't have any kids. Abdul has a family. They're going to compensate you more. They're going to compensate you whether you're black or white based on race. You're going to be compensated based on your subjects. You're going to be compensated whether you're teaching in a middle school or whether you're teaching in high school. Most high school teachers got paid a lot more. And why is that? Why do you think that was? This is interactive, folks. Why do you think that was? That they're paid?
They think high school's harder.
What's that?
They think high school's harder, so.
They think high school is harder. But there's a process where you get to high school because we have these forums with our teachers. And you know, before you get to high school, you've got to go through the lower grades to get there. So those teachers think they're just as important as the high school teacher. So we have these myriad of challenges that they had back in the 1800s. So NEA and other groups say, let's come up with a way that we can actually come with something that's quantifiable. Look at what's your educational background, that you're going to get paid. If you get additional training, you get additional pay. We cut out whether you're male or female, and you're going to get paid the same. And then if you're certified, and you get a certification, you didn't have national board back then, but based on your education. And that's where we get the different steps or different scales today. You've got, if you have a bachelor's, you're over here. You have a master's, master's plus 10, plus 20, plus 30, and so forth, or a doctorate. Some school districts do pay you for a doctorate degree. So we could quantify that and say, here's the scale. And if you want to move from a teacher with a bachelor's degree to a master's, then please go ahead and do that. And you'll get on this scale, which is higher. So when we hear of challenges to the single salary schedule, a lot of our people say, we know the history, and that's something we're going to fight. And we've traditionally fought that, but we say, let's take another look at this. And what we're doing, and some of the things I've handed out, I handed you the NEA resolution. NEA has 3.4 million members. NEA, basically the concept is that we'll support additional pay for additional work. And don't support the pay for, sorry Pat, I think I jumped ahead. You can't really quantify the test scores. So we're not in support of that. We can look at other ways of how you can compensate teachers, but when it comes to test scores, it's difficult. Now, NEA didn't support paying teachers additional incentives to work in hard-to-staff schools initially. And that was a big political brouhaha over that. NEA is the biggest democratic organization when they meet every year at what we call the Representative Assembly with over 10,000 people making a decision. Go ahead, Pat.
Democratic process.
Making a decision. So what they do, they go through this process, and you can imagine all those people debating, and so NEA modified its position and said, well, as far as hard-to-staff schools, they will look at incentives and so forth. They still stayed away from the hard-to-staff subjects, and I'll talk about that because we have challenges here in Maryland on that. We've got 24 school districts in Maryland, and MSTA represents the teachers in all but Baltimore City. AFT has Baltimore City, and but as a statewide organization, anything that happens in the state, whether Baltimore City or in one of the counties, that's gonna affect the teachers statewide. So part of my job is to go out and engage. When one of the field reps, they call and they say, well,